You ever stop and think about how incredibly complex software actually gets built? From massive video games to the operating system on your phone? Well, the answer, more often than not, lies in this really powerful way of thinking that's become the absolute bedrock of modern code: object-oriented programming. So let's start with a huge question, one that programmers face every single day. If you had to build an entire digital world from scratch, where would you even begin? Well, in the world of programming, the answer is actually pretty elegant. You don't start with just random lines of code. You start by creating objects. And that idea right there is the heart of it all. So let's get into it. What is object-oriented programming anyway? To put it simply, OOP is a way of programming that's all built around these objects. The real genius here is to stop thinking in just abstract commands and to start designing software that actually mirrors the real world, as a collection of distinct things, where each thing has its own properties and its own abilities. So how do we actually make these objects? Well, just like in the real world, pretty much everything starts with a blueprint, and that's where classes and objects come into play. Okay, first up is the class. Now, it's super important to get this. A class isn't the object itself. Instead, it's the plan for it. Think of it as the detailed architectural blueprint that defines all the characteristics and all the behaviors for any object of that specific type. Here's a perfect way to think about it. On the left, you've got the car class. That's our blueprint. It just defines what a car is in general. And on the right, those are the objects. Each one, the BMW, the Mercedes, the Audi, is a specific, real instance created from that one blueprint. So each of those individual cars is an object. It's the real deal. An object is the basic unit in OOP. It's an entity with its own state, like its color or model, and its own behavior, stuff it can do, like drive. Every single object is a unique thing, stamped out from its class blueprint. Okay, now that we've got a handle on classes and objects, we can dive into the 4 core principles that really give OOP its power. Think of these as the 4 pillars holding up the entire building. Our first pillar is abstraction, and this one is all about taming complexity. The whole idea is to hide all the messy internal details of an object and only show the essential features. So you get to interact with what an object does without having to know or care about how it does it. Think about an ATM, right? You walk up and interact with this really simple interface. Buttons for withdraw cash or check balance. You have no idea what's going on behind the screen, all the complex database stuff and secure network connections. That is a perfect example of abstraction in the real world. So what's the big deal? Why bother with this? Well, it hides all that complexity, which makes systems way easier to use. It also makes them so much easier to maintain and update down the road, because you can change all the internal stuff without breaking how the outside world interacts with it. And that idea of hiding complexity leads us right into our second pillar: encapsulation. This is all about bundling an object's data and the methods that operate on that data together into one single protected unit. The best way to think of it is like a protective shield or a capsule. It basically prevents the internal data of an object from being messed with, either accidentally or on purpose from the outside. Access is super tightly controlled. And the benefits of this are huge. For one, you get much better data security because other parts of the program can't just reach in and change things. This makes the code easier to maintain and gives the programmer total control over how their objects are actually used. Next up, we've got a principle that is a real game changer for efficiency: inheritance. This is a mechanism that lets you build a new class on top of an existing one, and it automatically gets all the properties and methods of the parent. It creates what we call an IJSE relationship. This is just a perfect, simple example. You can create a general animal class that has properties like has legs and can do things like eat. Then you can create more specific classes like dog, cat, and cow that inherit all of that from animal and then add their own unique stuff like bark or meow. So what's the bottom line here? It is all about code reusability. You write the common code one time in that base class, and then you just reuse it everywhere you need it. This cuts down on so much repetitive code and makes development way, way faster. And now for our final pillar, which has this really cool name: polymorphism. It actually comes from the Greek words for many forms, which is a perfect description. It's this incredibly powerful idea that a single action or method can behave differently depending on which object it's being used on. So this idea shows up in a couple of key ways. On one hand, you have overloading. That's like having a few functions all called calculate area, but they work differently depending on if you give them the numbers for a square or a circle. On the other hand, you have overriding. This is like having a general speak command. If you tell a dog object to speak, it'll bark. If you tell a cat object to speak, it'll meow. The object itself figures out how to do the action when the program is actually running. All right, so those are the 4 pillars. Let's take a step back and look at the big picture. Why on earth would a developer choose to use OOP in the first place? So why is this approach so dominant? Well, compared to older styles of coding where things just run in a straight line, OOP is a massive leap forward. It encourages reusing code, it creates a much cleaner structure, and it really hammers home that don't repeat yourself principle. All of this just means developers can build bigger, more complex stuff faster and with fewer bugs. But look, it's not a silver bullet. Nothing is, right? It's important to see the other side of the coin. For someone just starting out, OOP can have a pretty steep learning curve. And if you're just writing a tiny, simple program, it can feel like total overkill. Plus, since you're creating all these objects, it can sometimes be a bit trickier to debug and might use up more memory. So when you boil it all down, OOPS isn't just a set of rules. It's a really powerful way of looking at the world and modeling it in code. And that leaves us with one last question for you. Just look around the room you're in right now. If you were going to start coding your world, what would your very first object be?